All right, joining me now is NewsNation political contributor Johanna Maska. Johanna, thank you so much for your time. So we heard some clips from Kennedy last night. Do you believe he presented himself as a viable candidate? Did he make his case?
You know, Nichole, I am so thrilled that NewsNation did this last night because I think it's really important to have the facilitated town hall. You know, really being a cable outlet, it's important to make sure you're not the filter, but the facilitator. And we learned a lot about RFK Jr.'s viewpoints on inflation. He said there's not an immediate fix. On guns, he said essentially he couldn't do anything about it, even though California has done a lot about it and would have a lot to argue. And on a lot of these issues, he strayed away from the Democratic Party. I mean, he was accusing Boris Johnson of essentially ending the possibility of having a agreement on Ukraine earlier and saying that we were in a forever war by choosing, not by Putin's doing. And so what I saw last night was not necessarily a candidate who is going to win the Democratic primary because he's so out of step with Democratic voters, but I did see a candidate who told Elizabeth Vargas, who was an excellent moderator, at the time that she pressed him that he was unwilling to sign up to support the Democratic nominee and that he could consider a third-party ticket, which would present significant issues to the Biden administration, to the Biden campaign, and to any Democrat who's running, because essentially if you pull those people off from the Kennedy name to the third-party candidate, then you don't have the numbers that you need to defeat if the Republicans' candidate is Donald Trump. And so that could really upend this election if he does follow through with that.
So, Johanna, I want to talk a little bit more about the Kennedy name itself, but I want to zoom in on kind of what you just said there. I mean, do you believe that he certainly is straying away from the Democratic establishment? Is he potentially a spoiler candidate?
I went into it thinking, look, there are plenty of Democrats who have the views that RFK Jr. does. I mean, I'm in California, public school. There are plenty of people who are fearful of vaccines. So, I do believe that that debate needs to be had. And Elizabeth Vargas was good and right to push him on there is actually an FDA process, and we should not allow candidates to just say that there is no process without that pushback. He's not going to win the Democratic primary because the Democratic primary is, as incumbent's advantage is, stacked towards the incumbent. And you're right, he's not in lockstep with the majority of Democrats. But as a third-party candidate, he could pull off all of those Democrats who may have some of those viewpoints, independents who may have some of those viewpoints, who otherwise might show to the polls for Joe Biden, and that would be detrimental to the Democrats' ability to win this election because they are needed in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in places where it's going to be such a tight election, Pennsylvania. Right. And if they don't show up for Biden and they show up for Kennedy, that means he is absolutely a spoiler candidate. I was thinking, you need to be calling all the Kennedys. Like, the Bidens need to be doing a lot of Kennedy maintenance right now. And I know Caroline Kennedy was one of the first Kennedys to endorse President Obama early. And if I was President Biden's team and I had watched that town hall last night, I would be picking up a phone and calling Caroline Kennedy and saying, hey, how are we going to get your cousin back into our circles?
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.